This is your May forecast for Aries Sun, Aries Rising, and Aries Moon. So you are represented by the Queen of Cups and the Page of Cups. And so perhaps a water sign person is important to you. This could be Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, Sun, Moon, or Rising. Or perhaps just the traits are important. You may be taking on water energy. But this is the Queen of Cups, and so for some of you, there are issues surrounding being nurtured. What's on offer that provides you that sense of security, whether you're loved, you're cared for. This is a maternal queen who is intuitive, empathic, perhaps creative. You may be dealing with somebody who works in some kind of capacity where maybe they're a counselor or a therapist or a nurse or an artist or a psychic or maybe your mother. This could be your role in that situation. But again, there are issues of being protected and whether a situation is harmonious. Now, negatively, this is a queen who can be emotionally manipulative. She knows how to induce guilt in others. She manipulates emotionally. She's not in control of herself, so she could be moody, prone to crying spells, depression. She may be unduly influenced and falling prey to addiction of some sort, maybe promiscuity. So she's not in control of who she is, and it makes her a victim or an enabler, dependent in some way. And so those could be issues. So this is, having mastery, social skills in a positive manner that are loving, nurturing, protective by being guided by your feelings, your heart, your intuition. You also have the Page of Cups. Now, for some of you, this may be a mother-child issue. It could be your feelings about your femininity, the feminine side of yourself, your creativity, your role as a mother, or perhaps your feelings for this Queen of Cups. And there may be something on offer here, whatever that may be, that offers that sense of being loved and cared and nurtured. Maybe this is some kind of invitation, a social invitation. So some of you, you're going to find perhaps maybe you're going to go somewhere. There's an offer, something that has to do with emotional matters. You may be hearing news related to this queen that has to do with engagement, birth, marriage, attraction, holiday, some form of amusement. But your feelings are also changing. Maybe about your relationship, perhaps about your partner. You were rolling along in a particular direction and one of you has taken a turn. You're moving, in the opposite direction now, or you've changed course. You're beginning to look at where there may have been some romanticizing, some idealizing, and you're becoming more practical about a situation in order to see it more clearly. Something that you thought was meant for you, that was your destiny, you may be second guessing that now and saying, no, maybe I was just caught up in my emotions about that. So it could be your feelings about someone or a situation or a circumstance that is revolving around a decision, and a decision where you perhaps have felt trapped or the person in your life has felt trapped. Or maybe you're having to, a decision has been held back with regard to something. But when this card shows up, this is about some confining situation that is hindering growth, a positive change. Somebody may feel that they can't express themselves. They may be repressing how they feel. They feel like they can't be who they are. They can't speak their truth. They can't present themselves the way that they want to. Because, the other person may be influencing for them not to be themselves, or they may want greater freedom. So you may want greater freedom, or your partner does. Somebody feels trapped, held back, confined, as if they can't be their best self. And again, some significant turning point has taken place emotionally, socially, perhaps for the better, where you're looking at a situation that has maybe gone on too long and needs to change course. Now, your partner is represented by the Eight of Cups and the Eight of Swords. And for some of you, you know, maybe this is how you experience your partner. Maybe this is really what your partner is like. Maybe this is the influence you're having on your partner. But this is about walking away. Maybe somebody walked away from something at the last minute. Or somebody's walking away, you know, because they feel trapped by a circumstance. Your partner may feel that there's no resolution to something, that you've gone over old ground again and again and again, and there are no ideas about how to break out of this rut, this conundrum. And your partner may be trying to maintain that sense of emotional equilibrium about feeling trapped. Maybe they want to find a new relationship. Or they're holding themselves back from walking away because of something, and yet they feel trapped. There's some kind of uncertainty about, you know, where your partner is headed, where your partner wants to head. This person wants to make their own decisions. They want to do their own thing because something about their interaction with you feels disappointing or emotionally unfulfilling in some way. It could be that there's always something constantly coming up at the last minute where you make this person feel trapped. Maybe you dump something on their lap at the last minute, or you tell them something at the last minute. Now they have to change their whole agenda, their whole priorities, their whole schedule. And maybe they feel like they're always catering to what you want because what you're putting out there is always last minute. You're never prepared. It's always on the go, and they have to make all these changes that upend their own life. So maybe this person wants to withdraw, to go off to do some thinking, some contemplation. Maybe that's where they gather themselves. They gain wisdom when they're alone, or they're suddenly aware of how they always end up being alone because maybe you're doing something else. So there's something where your partner is seeking sanctuary, solitude, withdrawing in order to think, to go over a situation, to move something in a new direction. And maybe they don't even know how to do that or where they're headed, but they just know that they don't like what's happening right now. Or they're trying to maintain their emotional equilibrium and hold their emotions back about, you know, feeling trapped, where they end up alone and they don't necessarily like that. Now, your romance is characterized by the Seven of Wands and the Page of Swords. So somebody perhaps is always trying to figure out how they can gain the advantage, or maybe one of you feel like that. Maybe there's this feeling where somebody needs to stand up for themselves, or somebody's acting in their conviction. They're holding firm to their position at the cost perhaps of the relationship. One of you may have an advantage, but you're not necessarily on solid footing. This says that somebody needs to make some change, they need to be flexible, they need to adapt. If you want your partner to see things as you do, you're going to have to make them feel as if you're not constantly criticizing them or judging them or pushing them or threatening them. You're going to have to make them feel that you're not threatening who they are. Now, one of you may be trying to figure out how to do that. Maybe one of you is prying into the other one's affairs, and one of you feels disappointed. Could be some sarcasm, some harsh words, and inexperience in communication. One of you may be immature, irresponsible, and you're having a negative, unexpected effect on the other person. So somebody may be good at making business choices, but they're not good at making romantic choices. So there's a need to adapt. One of you could be unyielding, and that's the source of your unhappiness, not the situation itself, the fact that one of you is stuck on how you're thinking. Now, this may center around some form of celebration. It could be a birthday, an anniversary, some kind of ceremony and maybe you need to travel. Maybe this is a vacation, or again, seeking that sense of freedom. But there's also a sense of rejection. So perhaps the love has withered away between the two of you. You're trying to figure out what happened. Somebody is putting more time, energy, and investment in the relationship and not getting a return. It could be that, there's a lack of interest, that, again, love has just withered away, or that this is a relationship that's going to stay stuck in platonic. It's not going to move into romantic mode. So, this could be flat out rejection or just the rejection of someone's overtures. But what is the problem? You have the Page of Wands and the King of Swords. So this is fire energy. This could very well be you or another Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, air energy, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Somebody may have a combo, or maybe it's just the traits of these court cards. But this is a card of being motivated, being enthusiastic, taking some action, or motivating other people. So somebody may feel that they're being unduly influenced to make a decision. They maybe feel trapped into a decision. And it could be that somebody's trying to push them, take charge and authority to make the decision for this person. This is a card of authority. He, takes charge. His way is to solve the problem. He's very linear in his thinking. He's analytical. You may be, maybe this is an issue that involves some legal action or somebody that has the authority to make decisions. But maybe somebody's not motivated or they don't have the authority to make those decisions. You could be getting some kind of message. There's a change in the wind. So some small changes could make a big difference, but you're going to have to take the initiative to make the decision to do that. It could be some small changes that make a big difference for your relationship. In fact, with the Page of Swords, communication is a problem area. Maybe there's the lack of it or the way that you're communicating with one another. How you speak, the kind of conversations you have, the dialogue, is going to be critical in determining where this relationship moves next. You may have a meeting of the minds. You may solve a problem. You may be motivated to take charge. But on the other hand, it could be that you start to notice the less appealing side of another person. And so you're getting some warning signals, some red flags, and there's a significant turning point. You don't feel the same way anymore, or your partner doesn't. And somebody may be trying to rebirth the relationship or make some positive changes through an invitation. But there has to be the motivation to take charge, to take the initiative, to communicate. This is a king who is lacking in intimacy. He may even fear it. His way is to stay in his head. Being in his heart may be scary for him. And when he feels uncomfortable, he can resort to trying to hurt, to being spiteful and vindictive and nasty in his words. Now, maybe you're doing that, or perhaps your partner is doing that. But there's a need to make some changes. Now, some of you, again, this centers around some kind of invitation or a trip of some sort. And maybe somebody's going to invite you to something, or you're going to extend that, some kind of small gathering where you may be the focal point. Your social skills are important, your power of attraction. And maybe you come to realize that you're more attractive or magnetic than you thought. Or again, this could be where you're looking at the relationship, trying to figure out where you got off track. There's some small changes that you don't quite understand. You don't even know when they happened. And something is now missing. Something is off about this relationship, and you're at a loss to explain how. Some of you, again, maybe you're meeting somebody new. Maybe your partner has. Maybe you're going to end up becoming closer because you work out your communication. Or maybe you're going to become estranged because, again, there's a lack of experience in expressing intimately, or somebody trying to push somebody into making a decision. Now, the underlying influence is this Nine of Swords. There's some anxiety about something. There's some remorse attached to it also, some grief, some regret about something. Could have been some choices that were made, or regret about some things you didn't say, the words you didn't express. Or it could be that somebody tried to take charge for someone else. Maybe you tried to make decisions for your partner and they didn't appreciate it, or vice versa. This is also saying that there's some anxiety. For some of you, this may center around an illness, someone suffering, someone in pain, dealing with hospitals, hospital patients, treatment centers. It's something could have happened that, hurt to the core. You felt like it just stuck you in your heart, or the other person feels that way. So there's some anxiety, some remorse, some regret. But there are also some other options that either of you may not be considering. Again, it could be that somebody's taking this unyielding stance. They're going to stand firm to their position. Their pride is getting in the way. Or they're acting on principle. Or somebody's so emotional, they're overly influenced, they can't see clearly, and they're not considering some options that are right there on the table that they never thought about. There may also be some anxiety about a secret. You may be secretly anxious for something, or you have some anxiety that some secret will be discovered. But something about this relationship is attached to an illusion. Perhaps a projection of sorts. It may be a superficial relationship based solely on looks, status, possessions, position, how you present to the world. Somebody may be taking on the stance that, I want to appear attractive, wealthy, intelligent, established so that I can attract a partner. Or as a couple, it's about what we look like together. We look like we've got it going on, and that's all that matters. So there could be a lack of true depth and intimacy. This is also saying that somebody needs to look in the mirror about how they're impacting the relationship. And maybe there's some anxiety about taking a look at self. Now, the advice card is my individuality is honored in a loving relationship, and nothing is more important to Aries than individuality. It's the sign of me, of I. But that also has to be honored for others. So somebody's feeling influenced, they're feeling pushed into making a decision, they may be feeling as if they're held back or cornered, and they feel like they can't be their best self. So either you want your individuality to be honored, or you need to honor your partner and their choices. Now, the outcome is this Knight of Cups and this Knight of Swords. Two very different knights. For some of you, this is a legal or court case. This may be two different people, rivals, jealousy, conflicting ways of being or acting. Maybe you're stuck having this battle between your head and your heart. Or you're trying to make decisions guided analytically, or should you be using your intuition and how you feel? So there's some kind of battle going on. Now, the Knight of Swords is not likely to take no for an answer. There's some offer, proposal, agreement on the table here. This may be somebody rushing in to rescue or protect, or somebody that has a tendency to pull you into some kind of conflict. But communication and travel are essential to your situation. And the Knight of Cups, again, emphasizes feelings, creativity, social invitations, attraction, desire. And there are some desires that you may have. For some of you, this is about an intense desire to win your heart's desire, something that you want to attract to yourself. And in fact, you have a psychological edge. You know how to do and say exactly what you need to in order to get what you want. This is the seducer. This is the tempter. And you may be tempted by something, or you're trying to seduce someone, or you're seduced by an idea or thought, some mission that you're on, or a person. And you're likely to get a breakthrough. There's some kind of emotional or psychological insight that will be gained where you've been hitting the wall, where you have met with a dead end. You finally understand something, or that door opens. This is a relationship that seems to be going along just fine, and then all of a sudden the door closes in your face. You're going round and around and around with no resolution. Well, you're going to get some kind of breakthrough at the end of this situation. Now, you've got a lot of court cards, a tremendous amount of court cards, which means that this is going to be a very busy and social month for you. And it means that you're going to get a lot of support from others, or there are too many cooks in the kitchen. Too many people have a hand or a say in things, and it's problematic. So this is a month where you're going to either try to digest absorb or initiate an experience that could stabilize you, or you're going to have to deal with something that is unsettling to your personal comfort zone. And things are way more complicated than they appear on the surface, or you're so emotional that your emotional way of handling it is making it more complicated. So the quicker you make up your mind, the more difficult it's going to be for you to follow that course of action. Now, I need to say that again. The quicker you make up your mind about something, oddly enough, the more difficult that thing is going to become for you to move forward and take action on it. Now, you have no major cards, which means that whether it feels like it or not, you are largely in control. You have a say in pulling the strings. This may center around some kind of society, community, group that has to do with young people or your allies, people that are supportive of you. And again, with the two knights, you either have a legal or a court case, or there's some kind of rivalry, or you're seeking protection, or there are some conflicting missions. You're at odds, head or heart. Do what makes sense, do what feels good. And it may have to do with teaching or mentoring. It could be parent-child interaction. It could be a relationship that has a great age or a role difference. But there's some dissatisfaction here where somebody's taking a time out to withdraw, to contemplate, to think about what's on offer. Do they want it or not? And for some of you, there's some important decisions to be made where you feel trapped, or maybe you feel like you can't really make that decision because something about your circumstance is unstable. There's no earth here. There's no solid ground. There's nothing that you can feel secure about. A lot of things up in the air. And so it's difficult for you to make decisions that have to do with the future when you don't even know what's going to happen today. So you're looking at your choices, and you may be going over some of them and thinking, wow, I probably shouldn't have done that. You're questioning yourself. You're questioning where you're headed, what you've done, who you're with, where you're going. And again, there's a sense of uncertainty about situations. In fact, you may be so self-involved that you miss opportunities. The universe is tapping you on the shoulder. It's prompting you to check in with your intuition to determine whether this is a good opportunity or whether this is an opportunity that has some liability that you don't want to take on. It's asking you to look down the road. And again, that's going to be difficult for you right now. And you may be closing off to the people around you, your loved ones, until you work something out. So there may be a lack of communication. You may be dissatisfied because people aren't saying something, or there's been a break in the movement. There's a lull. You're trying to figure out what to do next. For some of you, this is a welcome break. Again, maybe this is centering around a vacation, a time out where you get to get in touch with yourself spiritually, relax, recover, recuperate. You're trying to figure out what to do next. You have to make sure that you don't bury your head in the sand or simply hope that, this is all going to go away. You're going to have to deal with some circumstances. And you're doing this review. Maybe this is over your finances or an opportunity, maybe a new job, maybe to join forces with someone, to travel, to get to the other side of a situation. It could be simply you have this opportunity to make your point clear, to stand up for yourself, drive a point home, clear your name, your reputation. And you're going to have to trust that important intuition so that you don't become unduly influenced, trapped into making decisions that you don't want, and being emotionally manipulated or guilted into doing something. But at the same time, you can't let your ego drive your decisions, where you reach for something that is beyond you and end up falling to the ground with a thud. You could be getting an ego check. So this is about getting the facts straight, not making assumptions before you move forward in a situation. Again, there's no earth here, so there's a lack of stability, may tie to finances, may tie to emotional security, your ambitions. And so maybe, you overshot. There's some pie in the sky thinking, or simply there's a lot going on and you haven't worked out all of the details. There is something about your situation where you're having to make some very serious, solemn judgment about your life path. And it has to do with the past. Questions from the past are now weighing in on the present. Some choices you made back when are now coming home to roost. And you're having to make different choices because of the choices you made back then. So this is going to be an emotionally challenging month for you. It could be you're making choices, a choice among lovers, competition for favors, could be issues of rivalry, jealousy, acting, one way and having a different attitude towards something else, partnership, long established relationships, parents. So your challenge number is 8. You've got a lot of 8 here's. So it has to do with opportunities. Small opportunities that trigger bigger opportunities. Small portions of things that play out that have to do with larger events that are going to unfold. That tie to your destiny, your future, the people that influence it. So there's a need for you to overcome some kind of uncertainty. Your judgment is being challenged. Your belief in self and your belief in other people is going to be tested this month. These are things that tie to your future, opportunities that have the potential to change your life. So you're going to have to tie up some loose ends. Whatever's occurring is going to broaden you, open you up, change your perspective, your attitude about life. Some small changes are going to trigger larger things that perhaps were overdue. It's time for a change, and maybe you weren't aware of it. So your mindset, your self-expression, your fertility, your creativity is all going to be important. Again, this is a month where you're trying to stabilize your situation, and you may be in some territory that doesn't quite feel comfortable for you. There's some decisions to be made, issues where people feel trapped, where they may feel rejected, pushed into making some decisions. Individuality is going to be important, yours, that of others. So this is a busy month for you, Aries. I hope you enjoyed this reading. Don't forget to subscribe. Make some positive changes in your relationship, and let's create a love revolution.